Hi, everyone, and welcome to Who to the Curve. And this is a Robert Ruiz rant. And today we're going to be speaking on the great ADHD conspiracy, or how Bustelo saved Puerto Rican kids from the Ritalin revolution. Let's embark on a wild ride through the decades, shall we? Picture this. It's the 1970s. Disco is king. Bell bottoms are inexplicably a thing, and somewhere in the U.S. classroom, a Puerto Rican kid is bouncing off the walls. The teacher, armed with a ruler and a furrowed brow, declares this child has ADHD. Cue the dramatic music. Dun, 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 dun. But wait a second. Hold the Ritalin. Could it be that this so-called hyperactivity isn't a disorder at all? Could it be Café Bustelo? Yep, that iconic yellow can of rocket fuel masquerading as coffee paired with a slab of pan de agua might just be the real culprit, or the unsung hero of this saga. Buckle up, because we're diving into a caffeine-soaked bread-fueled odyssey spanning the 70s, 80s, 90s, and, of course, beyond, where Puerto Rican kids have been slapped with ADHD labels faster than you can say, "Ay bendito." And I'm here to argue with all the sarcasm and humor I can muster that maybe, just maybe, it's not ADHD, it's Bustelo. Let's speak on the 1970s, when coffee was a birthright and ADHD was born. Back in the 70s, life was simpler. Kids played outside until the streetlights flickered on, and Puerto Rican households in the U.S., whether in the Bronx, Chicago, or Philly, ran on a sacred morning ritual: coffee and bread. Not some dainty espresso nonsense, mind you, but a steaming cup of Bustelo, brewed so strong it could wake up a coma patient, served alongside a hunk of crusty bread. For Puerto Rican kids, this wasn't just breakfast, it was a rite of passage. Abuela didn't mess around. She'd pour you a café con leche before you could even spell your name, and you slurp it down like it was your job. Meanwhile, in the hallowed halls of American schools, something sinister was brewing. And no, it wasn't coffee. The concept of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, was taking shape, ready to pounce on any kid who dared to fidget, talk too much, or even, heaven forbid, refuse to sit still for 6 hours straight. Enter little Juanito, fresh off his Bustelo buzz, zipping around the classroom like he's auditioning for The Flash. The teacher, who probably thinks coffee is only for adults and bread should come pre-sliced, doesn't know what hit her. "This child is out of control," she scribbles on her notes, conveniently ignoring that Juanito's been mainlining caffeine since he was in diapers. So the misdiagnosis begins. Doctors, those sage wizards of the 70s with their stethoscopes and questionable sideburns, nod sagely and say, "Yup, sounds like ADHD. Here's some Ritalin to calm him down." Calm him down? The kid's just living his best life, fueled by a cultural tradition older than polyester suits. But no, the system sees a hyper kid and screams disorder instead of asking, "Hey, what's in the thermos?" Spoiler alert, it's not Kool-Aid. Let's speak on the 1980s. Big hair, bigger misunderstandings. Fast forward to the 80s. Shoulder pads, MTV, and the dawn of ADHD epidemic. By now, the diagnosis is spreading like neon leg warmers, and Puerto Rican kids are still caught in the crosshairs. Picture Maria rocking her side ponytail and a backpack full of dreams, sprinting through the halls because, well, she had her Bustelo and bread at 7 a.m. and now it's 10 a.m. and she's basically a human pinball. The school psychologist, armed with a clipboard and a mullet, clocks her speed and decides this is a textbook ADHD. Textbook? More like coffee table book, because Maria's just riding the wave of her morning brew. Here's the kicker. In Puerto Rican culture, coffee isn't just a drink, it's a lifestyle. Kids grow up with it, sipping alongside their elders with the bread. Pan de sabao or pan de agua, whatever's fresh, soaks up the caffeine jitters. It's a perfect harmony, a culinary yin and yang. But in the 80s, American schools weren't exactly bastions of cultural sensitivity. They saw a kid who couldn't sit still and thought, let's medicate, instead of maybe he's just caffeinated. The irony. Ritalin's a stimulant too, just a fancy FDA-approved one. So while Maria's buzzing from Bustelo, the doc's like, here, have some legal speed to fix that. Brilliant. Meanwhile, stateside Puerto Rican parents are scratching their heads. ¿Qué pasa con estos gringos? They mutter, watching their kids come home with prescriptions instead of gold stars. Back on the island, no one's batting an eye at kids running around like caffeinated tornadoes. It's just Tuesday. But in the US, the ADHD label sticks faster than gum under a desk, and the coffee bread combo gets zero credit for its starring role. Let's speak about the 1990s. Grunge, Ritalin, and the Bustelo backlash. The 90s roll in with flannel shirts, dial-up internet, and ADHD diagnosis boom that makes the dot-com bubble look tame. By now, the disorder's a household name, and schools are handing out Ritalin like it's candy at a piñata party. Puerto Rican kids, still loyal to their Bustelo and bread mornings, are prime targets. Take Jose, who's got the energy of an Energizer bunny after his café con leche. He's tapping his pencil, doodling on his desk, and, talking out of turn. The teacher now, equipped with the DSM-4 manual and a zero-tolerance policy for disruption, sends him straight to the counselor. Diagnosis? ADHD. Prescription? Ritalin. Reality? Jose's just a kid on caffeine high, chasing it with carbs. Here's where it gets absurd. Studies start popping up on the glorious 90s research, suggesting ADHD might be overdiagnosed. Shocking, right? But no one's connecting the dots to cultural quirks like, let's say, giving kids coffee before they can tie their shoes. Instead, the narrative's all about hyperactive boys and inattentive girls, with Puerto Rican kids lumped in without a second thought. Never mind that in many Hispanic households, coffee's as ubiquitous as rice and beans. Nope. It's got to be a disorder, not a double shot of espresso. And let's talk about the bread for a sec. That crusty, chewy pan de agua isn't just a sidekick. It's the unsung hero keeping these kids from vibrating into orbit. It's the ballast to Bustelo's rocket fuel. The chill pill no one prescribed. But does the school nurse ask about Jose's breakfast? Of course not. She's too busy writing referrals while sipping her weak Folgers, oblivious to the cultural clash unfolding before her eyes. Let's speak about the 2000s to present. Hipsters, hustle, and ADHD industrial complex. Now, we're in the modern era, millennials, TikTok, and a world where even hipsters are sipping Bustelo. Ironically, ADHD diagnoses are still climbing, and Puerto Rican kids in the U.S. remain in the crosshairs. The difference? Now there's data. Oh, glorious data. Showing Hispanic kids are less likely to get diagnosed than their white or black peers. Progress, right? Not so fast. When they do get tagged, it's often a hasty label, slapped on without a whisper about diet, culture, or the fact that little Sophia's been sipping café since she was 3. Today's schools are high-stake pressure cookers, standardized tests, zero-tolerance policies, and a teacher-to-student ratio that make a sardine blush. A kid like Sophia, buzzing from her Bustelo and bread, doesn't stand a chance against the sit still or else ethos. She's fidgeting, she's chatting, she's basically a poster child for the disruptive behavior. Enter the ADHD diagnosis, stage left, with the side of stimulant meds. But here's the $1,000,000 question. Is it really ADHD? Or is it just the natural outcome of a kid raised on coffee stronger than a double espresso at Starbucks? The kicker, science backs me up, sort of. Studies show caffeine can mimic ADHD symptoms, restlessness, inattention, and that whole jazz. And Puerto Rican kids steeped in a coffee culture that'll make Seattle blush are walking petri dishes for the experiment. Add some bread to sop up the jitters, and you've got a recipe for normalcy, not a disorder. Yet the ADHD industrial complex, big pharma, overworked teachers, harried parents, keeps chugging along, prescribing pills instead of asking, hey, what's for breakfast? Let's speak on the verdict. Bustelo versus Ritalin. So let's wrap this caffeinated caper up with a bow of sarcasm and a wink of truth. For decades, Puerto Rican kids in the U.S. have been pegged as ADHD poster children, their energy chalked up to a disorder rather than a cultural quirk. From the 70s to now, the Bustelo and bread combo has powered them through the mornings, only to land them in the crosshairs of a system that doesn't get it. Is it ADHD, or is it just What happens when you give a kid a cup of liquid, lightning, and a side of carbs? I say it's time to rethink the narrative. Maybe Juanito, Maria, Jose, and Sofia aren't hyperactive. They're just awake. Maybe the real disorder is a school system that can't handle a kid who's not comatose by 9 a.m. So here's my proposal. Ditch the Ritalin, hand out some Bustelo, and let's call it a day. After all, if coffee and bread can get you through a Puerto Rican childhood, it's probably strong enough to fix anything. ADHD included. Salud. Thank you for listening to Who to the Curve. Don't forget to like us, share us, and subscribe. Thanks.
I hit my big strides, yo, wish styles got disqualified. Why? Cause I've been in my bag. Collecting the AU, I'm afraid you just competing for ad. When I rap, it's a chemistry lab. Look, got every element stacked. I'm bringing real energy back. Got everything that my enemies lack. I do not care if you're miles away. Get up.